This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, I'm Marjorie McCullough, Professor of Nursing at the University of Michigan. I'm here today to share with you how to protect one of your most valuable assets, your hearing. Scientists are discovering that too many youth are suffering from adverse effects of noise exposure. I'll show you ways to protect yourself. You might think that noise and hearing loss is an issue affecting older people. While noise exposure is a problem for lots of people, we know it's especially prevalent among farm and rural youth. This message is for you. In this lesson, you'll learn to explain how the energy in sound is what can damage our ears. You'll identify harmful noise sources which have the potential to cause hearing damage, identify preventive strategies to reduce exposure to noise, and describe appropriate selection and use of personal protection equipment. Let's start by talking about sound. Think about a rubber band. You've all stretched a rubber band between your fingers and made it vibrate. You can see, hear, and feel the rubber band vibrating. These vibrations have energy, and it's the energy in the sound vibrations that can damage our ears. Now, sound is measured in units called decibels. The bigger the number of decibels, the louder the sound. Professionals use a sound level meter but you could use a noise app on a smartphone with similar results. There are some free smartphone apps you can use to measure noises around your home and farm. These apps will show you just how much energy these noises have. It's this energy that causes damage to our ears and the rest of our bodies. For example, go to Soundwave app. Did I mention that sound is measured in decibels? Let's get a feel for how much noise is associated with different decibel numbers. I'm going to use a sound meter app to measure decibels at various distances from a noise source. Let's play a game. I'll show you an image of a noise source, and you can guess the noise level it generates in decibels. Here's a refrigerator. How many decibels? Did you guess 40? A refrigerator might make 40 decibels. Okay, here's another one. This is a noisy city street corner. How many decibels? 85. A busy street corner might make about 85 decibels. Stadium. How many decibels? A football stadium might average about 90 decibels, but can be much louder at times. Now, let's look at some common farm noise sources. Oh, but before we do that, let's do a summary. Lesson 1. We're around loud noise quite often. Okay, now let's move on. Great. You now have some idea about how decibels work. Recall that earlier we talked about the sounds from a rubber band. These sounds are soft and harmless. But when the sound is loud, it can damage our ears as well as the rest of our bodies. When the sound is unwanted, we call it noise. When the sound is 85 decibels or higher, it's considered dangerous. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't walk around with a noise level meter in my hand. So how can you tell if a noise is too loud? It's not so hard. If you have to raise your voice to be heard by someone who's an arm's length away, then the noise is too loud. Now, we know what makes a sound, but how do we hear? I'm going to use some chenille stems to illustrate. You might want to pause the video at this point if you plan to include this exercise with your class. We have these structures inside our inner ear, the cochlea. They're long and narrow, and we call them hair cells. We're going to simulate hair cells using chenille stems. Now, place your bundle of chenille stems in your fist so they're pointing straight up. This is your bundle of hair cells. A healthy hair cell bundle, like your chenille stems, stands nice and straight. We know that we hear sound vibrations with the tiny hair cells in our ear. We also know that vibrations from loud sounds have energy. Let's see how sound affects our hair cells. Let's do an experiment. You have about 18,000 hair cells in each ear, and they have to last you a lifetime. That's a long time. But every time you damage them with noise, some of them will be permanently broken, and they can't be fixed. Now we're going to imagine some situations where we expose our hair cells to different levels of sound. When our hair cells are exposed to sound, it makes the hair cells sway back and forth. This creates signals that are sent to the brain where we hear that sound. When the sound stops, so does the movement of the hair cells. For example, as I speak, the sound of my voice travels through your ear to an organ inside your head called the cochlea. The sound makes the hair cells in the cochlea wave around. You can make your own hair cells wave around by gently brushing your open hand across the top of a bunch of chenille stems. When the hair cells move, they send signals to the brain. The brain receives these signals and identifies the sound as my voice. To simulate this, you can gently wave your hand over the chenille stems to mimic the safe vibrations. Try it. Notice that when the sound stops, the chenille stems resume their prior upright position. Notice that after exposure to the sound of my voice, your hair cells are still standing up nice and straight, ready to respond the next time there's sound. Next, we're going to mow the lawn. You have a gas-powered lawnmower, and it's pretty loud. To simulate this, wave your hands quickly over the hair cells, fast and hard. Go ahead, try it. Did you notice some changes in your hair cells? Excuse me. Mine are somewhat bent, but not completely devastated. Finally, we're going to a concert. The music has started, and it's very loud. To simulate this, wave your hands very quickly over the hair cells. Really fast, hard. Go ahead, try it. Did you notice some changes in your hair cells? Mine are really a mess, badly bent over, and a couple are even missing. Now, let's think of another example, like a nearby firecracker going off. Hearing an extremely loud sound, even one time, can cause you to lose some of your hearing. Once your hearing is damaged, there's nothing that will make you hear as well as you do now. Remember, we mentioned before that sounds of 85 decibels and higher are considered dangerous. If you're around this kind of noise too long, it will likely damage your hearing. And this is actual microscopy images of real hair cells. You can see healthy and damaged. Most people are aware that being around loud noise is bad for your hearing, and it's true. Funny thing is, though, most people think that losing their hearing will be quiet. Surprisingly, that's not true at all. Most people with noise-induced hearing loss have a constant ringing or buzzing in their ears called tinnitus. Tinnitus can be extremely annoying because it never goes away, and it can be quite bothersome, especially at night. So people who've been around loud noise too long end up with a lot of hearing problems. True, but they also have other problems you might not be aware of. People with hearing loss are often quite socially isolated, have low self-image, and are often depressed. Some people think of hearing loss as a problem that only affects older people. Not true. Noise-induced hearing loss affects young people too, and more often than you think. Have you ever experienced ringing or buzzing in your ears after being around loud sounds? As I mentioned, this is called tinnitus. Tinnitus is ringing, hissing, buzzing, or funny sounds in your head or ears after exposure to very loud sound. Often the ringing goes away, but the damage that was done by exposure to the sound does not. Sometimes the ringing will stay forever. Tinnitus is a signal that you have damaged your hair cells and your hearing. We don't have any way to fix this. No medicine, no surgery. It just stays forever. The energy of noise causes changes to the way nerves in the cochlea communicate. This is what causes hearing loss and perhaps causes tinnitus as well. This young farmer reflects on his hearing loss, saying, "I thought if I lost my hearing, it would be quiet. But that constant ringing keeps me awake at night, and I can't hear my friends very well on my cell phone." The rate of hearing loss among farmers is as much as 72%, higher than all other occupational groups. And while noise-exposed farmers may expect to lose their hearing, many don't know that most people with noise-induced hearing loss also experience tinnitus. And many don't appreciate that the hearing loss they experience is associated with social isolation, changes in close relationships, and a decline in earned income. But wait, there's more. Noise does more than hurt your ears. It affects your whole body. Did you know that noise is associated with high blood pressure, heart disease, overweight, and obesity? It's true. Noise can interfere with your sleep and also causes your body to secrete stress hormones like cortisol. Both of these have effects on virtually every organ in your body. So, although most people are aware that noise exposure causes hearing loss, fewer people recognize the adverse effects of noise on the rest of their body. So, here's a summary. Lesson 2, noise. It's bad for you. So, what to do? Let's talk about what are some things you can do to protect your hearing from loud noise. 3 basic techniques. Get away, turn it down, and use hearing protection. So let's talk about each one of these. Here's something you can do in your classroom to show how getting away works to reduce your noise exposure. For this exercise, you'll need at least one sound level meter. A smartphone sound meter app will work. And you'll need a noise source like a kitchen blender or a vacuum. We're going to measure decibel levels at various distances from your noise source. Put your noise source in one corner of the room. Now, with the noise source running, measure the noise at various distances. What did you notice? Notice that moving only a short distance from the source decreases the noise energy that can damage your hearing. How many decibels do you think this equipment is? Is the decibel level of this equipment in the safe zone or dangerous zone? This lawnmower is 90 decibels, so it's in the dangerous zone. Remember, everything above 85 and above, dangerous. What if I move 20 feet away? What happens to the sound level? As you can see, moving only a short distance from the source decreases the noise energy and the damage to your body. So, getting away from the noise source is an effective method of protecting our hearing. As I mentioned, one way to protect your hearing is to wear hearing protection devices. There are several kinds out there to choose from. You recognize earmuffs at the top and the yellow plugs at the bottom left and right. The blue semicircle ones on the far right are canal caps, sometimes called semi-orals. Each type has its own advantages and disadvantages, and everyone has their own favorite. Most people have to experiment with several kinds before they find what they like. But remember, the best hearing protection is the one you'll use. Let's take a minute and look at how to use these little guys. Did you know that most farm people don't use them in a way that effectively protects their hearing? It's true. I'd like to show you how to use them the right way. Hey, but if you have surgically altered ears, implanted medical devices in your ears, or any medical condition that contraindicates the use of earplugs, then please just watch, don't insert them. You might be a good candidate for earmuffs. First and most importantly, be prepared and keep your plugs handy in case you're exposed to loud sounds. It's important to use them, and even more important to use them properly. There are several kinds of earplugs available, and today we'll learn how to use the pre-molded kind. They look like little Christmas trees with these little flanges on the side. Hold the rigid stem in one hand and reach over your head with the opposite arm and pull the outer ear up and back. This straightens your ear canal, making it possible to seat the plug properly. Slowly insert the plug into your ear, kind of pointing towards your nose. Release the hand pulling on the outer ear and the hand holding the plug, lowering your arms. You can tell if the plug is fitting correctly if the sound gets quieter around you and it's comfortable. Does it sound different? Once you repeat the process with the other ear, you're well protected from most dangerous noise. Remember, it's not silent. You're just taking the dangerous part of the noise out, but you're still able to hear what's going on around you and communicate with people. Now let's talk about removing the earplug. Gently wiggle it and twist it as you pull it out. Remember, the best earplug is the one you'll use. Sometimes you have to wear them a while before they become more comfortable. Your pre-molded plugs can be reused over and over, and you can wash them once in a while to help keep them clean. You may have noticed that you can buy plugs for yourself or your family at a hardware store, drugstores, sporting goods stores, and online. Now let's put it all together. Here's a tractor. How many decibels? Of course, the noise from the standpoint of the operator of a tractor will vary based on a number of factors: open cab, closed cab, and so on. A tractor might range from 74 to 112 decibels. Here's a grain dryer. How many decibels? A grain dryer is loud. 85 to 100 decibels would not be unusual. Would you wear hearing protection around a grain dryer? It's above the 85. I would hope so. Now, let's take a look at some farm noise sources. The next few slides show a few, although there are many more. Noise from tractors is probably the most obvious, but noise from all of these sources is common and can cause damage, even though the operator may only be exposed to a single source for short periods of time. So how many decibels would you guess a combine makes? You can expect a combine to make between 85 and 105 decibels. Is this in the safe or the dangerous range? It's above 85, so that makes it dangerous. So you need to protect yourself. Here's a chainsaw. How many decibels would you guess? A chainsaw might range from 77 to 115 decibels. Is this in the safe range or the dangerous range? It depends. If it's 85 or higher, then it's in the dangerous range and you need to use protection. Pigs are on their own much of the day, but when a human appears, they know it's lunchtime and they get pretty excited. How many decibels do you think you'd find in a pig barn at mealtime? Yeah, that's right. 81 to 112 decibels. Is this in the safe range or the dangerous range? Remember, 85 and above is the dangerous range. You would need hearing protection in this environment. So here's our third lesson. Bottom line for you, noise is bad, but you have your defenses. You can walk away, you can wear hearing protection, and you can turn it down. What if you were headed to a concert? You expect the noise to be pretty loud. Will you bring hearing protection along? And when things get really loud, will you take them out and put them in? What if no one else was going to wear hearing protection? Would you? How do you think your friends would react? What if they laughed at you? Sometimes it's difficult to do the right thing, but you know what the consequences will be if you don't use hearing protection. I know a lot of you use personal headphones. By now, you're probably not surprised that the sound level can reach as high as 100 decibels, or even more, which is way above the 85 decibel threshold, and therefore dangerous. If you're listening to headphones and you're about an arm's distance from someone talking, but you can't understand the words they're speaking, then that means the volume is too loud. Also, if someone nearby can hear sounds from your headphones, you've got them turned up too loud. Some of you have gone hunting or to target practice. Did you use hearing protection? You'll notice there are lots of examples of noisy places. Look around and notice who's wearing hearing protection. Even if they're not, you can be a trendsetter. Over time, you will have more and more exposure to loud noise at home and at work. Every exposure accumulates in damage to your ears. Each one of these situations is an opportunity to make smart decisions and take care of your health. Lesson 4. We're around loud noise quite often. Noise is bad for you. You have choices. You live with the consequences of your choices. Thanks, and I'll hear you around. Bye now.